Please stand by. What the hell is going on? What's up, Josh? Can you see me? I'm having connection issues here. I don't know if anyone can see me. It's telling me please stand by. It's 2019 and internet still isn't even figured out. Ridiculous. AT&T, get it together. Dropping the ball right now. Oh, man. You guys can see me? Alright. Take your word for it. What up? $82 degrees in here and it's September. It is getting cooler at night though. I think we're on our downward spiral towards fall, which means breeding season's coming up. Better feed your females. Girls are eating like champs and they're still hungry. What's up? Males are starting to pace. They're a little hungry. This girl always paces. I don't know what her deal is. She paces so much she's actually rubbed her head raw on 2 separate occasions. Just nutty. Don't know what to say. I think I overslept. I went to bed early and still slept in. Oh, this is good. I don't even remember what I put in the description. What are we talking about today? Talking about breeding season prep. I feel like I talk about that a lot, but when you do live videos like this, you end up getting a different audience every single time. So it's probably still beneficial for folks to hear because they might not have heard the last couple times. What up, Travis? Robert, Josh, Mander. What's up? Getting the stream in before I go into the shop today. There it is, topping her off. Got a bunch of new animals in at the shop today. Some tarantulas, some vinegaroons, some whip scorpions, things like that. So all day today, I'll be hydrating and feeding and cleaning and doing that stuff over at GX3. Come on by if you're in the Sacramento area. If you're looking for a conservation organization to support, Ari Flagel's doing Bowen's Python research, Project Black Python. Go show him some love. He's doing some great work with bull and eye. I think there were some bull and eye hatched this year. Captive born and bred. I don't know if it was in the States or Europe. I think it was in the States. I'm way out of the loop. I don't spend much time on Facebook. Honestly, I spend more time on YouTube and Instagram than anywhere else, and I don't even do that much. I don't know. I get great feedback from y'all, but I feel like a goon when I'm up here because maybe it's just my low self-esteem or what, but I don't find that I do anything fantastic at all. Good morning, John. Everybody say good morning to John Burgoyne. He's over in, he's across the pond. He's over in England. And good morning, Dan. And I sent him a shirt over there, and I flubbed it the first time. I accidentally mixed up 2 orders and sent him too small of one, or too big of one, I think. And then I ended up sending him another, and that was an expensive mistake, but it was worth it. And then somebody saw him at a show out there and like sniped a little photo of him wearing my shirt. That was tight. Yeah, Travis, it never gets any easier, huh? So John asked a question. What was the first carpet python you bought when you got into keeping snakes? Well, to really give you the perspective on that, I started keeping snakes when I was 8 or 9. And the first snake I had was California king snake. And then fast forward like, I don't know, 11 years, 12 years. Got my male blacktail crebo and a Brazilian rainbow boa. And that's when I found the industry. That's when I found the hobby. That's when I found whatever you want to call this. And I was hooked, just like the rest of us. And then when I found Morelia, my first exposure to it was seeing some jungles and some jags and losing my mind. And then after researching and studying and seeing other people's content and photos and animals and figuring out where my head was at, I started acquiring a group from some local guy, and I've since sold those. They weren't anything special, but the first carpet python that I bought was actually a super caramel coastal. I don't have that animal. Ended up selling him. Morning, Terry. Which is probably good because I don't know its background. I don't know anything about it. It came from some knucklehead that I worked for a while. We won't get into that story. But yeah, my first carpet that I bought and owned was a super caramel coastal. When I got serious about all of this and started making plans for the future and long-term stuff, I bought a couple Pos Het granites. Man, that's a good question. I think it might have been a jungle. I think it was my breeder gal up here. Bought her from Todd at a show, and that was when I was like, I'm committed, I'm in, I'm spending money at a show, I want a jungle. Todd, jungle. And that was that. Yeah, Travis knows the story of when I worked for that dude. Yeah, and then if like my trajectory is a straight line, I've gone like left and right and calibrated myself on and on to where I'm at today, and I'm probably not done. But it's interesting when you take the time and look back at what you started with. But I'm super, super happy with the way the collection's at today. Where it's going in the future, and to be honest, I have no idea what that means. Right now, I know for sure one of my long-term goals is to spend years and years and years refining striped jungles. Lately, one of the things that's been talked about, it was touched on in NPR, it was touched on a couple other places, and the topic was something along the lines of like, jungles are cool, but you can't really build projects around them. You've got zebra, you've got super zebra. Over in Oz, they've got an axanthic, and then everything else is just selective bred, right? So people have gotten to the point where, you know, the blackest blacks, the cleanest yellows, you know, good banding. For whatever reason, striping hasn't really become prominent, and I don't know why, because one round of making stripes and I can already see that one, it can be done, and the future potential. All of these striped jungles are kind of nearing their 3rd shed, so this holdback male I have in my lap, as awesome as he is in this perfect little circle, he's kind of copper and faded black right now because he's going into shed. But if anybody knows how jungles behave, they change dramatically over the first 2 years. Tend to look their best around 2. So Oop, easy killer. So this boy is in shed. He does not look great. Honestly, he looks better on camera than he does in person. I just hope he doesn't pee on my computer right now. He's got a full belly. These guys are eating hoppers. This was from my maternally incubated clutch. Maternal incubation is another thing that could be explored more if somebody's looking for projects, just doing like generations of MI. That might be interesting to see. But the idea is jungles have sort of stabilized and sort of like the high end, but it's plateaued. And then there's all this other potential elsewhere. Well, I think striping could still be done. There's the lightning line of stuff that's rather elusive and hard to get because it just didn't get the prominence of, you know, the people who were emphasizing the banding and doing all that good stuff. So this is step one in a more long-term striped jungle project. You know, we'll see where it goes in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you know. Do some selective breeding and ideally make some jungles with fully unbroken dorsal stripes and then really bring in the side striping. This guy has some, and it usually starts around the neck on these guys. Like right there, you can see some. Yeah, he keeps turning. So the laterals, as I call them, on his flanks, the little blotches, they're sort of flattening out and becoming horizontal. And you can see there's some linear behavior to them. And I'd like to improve that and make what many people who've been around carpets for a long time would refer as tri-stripes. But that was sort of like a name for the striped coastals before all the Balin Tiger stuff was really the dominant striping stuff out there, and then it sort of just lost its luster, and you don't hear the word tri-stripe anymore. So ideally, I'd like to spend a few generations making tri-stripe jungles. So jungles aren't dead. You don't have to just settle for the best black and yellow banded animal. You can go your own way. There's gelatin stuff that Nick Mutton's really putting in a ton of work with. There's ivory stuff that he's been doing. So, in my opinion, I think the jungle game is still going strong. I don't think there's really any end in sight unless you say there is. But I also am one of those people who's like, variety is the spice of life. So if I, focused only on striped jungles, maybe I'd be making more progress currently, but I can't just only have one thing, which is why I have so many species in here. I'd like to finally, get coastals figured out. Supposedly you run them the same as jungles and, whatever. I can't figure it out. I'm still a rookie as far as I'm concerned. Again, I'm planning on pairing a nice tiger male that was produced by Todd Dyer at Psychotic. It has several generations of tiger bred back into it. And if you know anything about polygenics, you basically emphasize that feature when you breed it back in and layer it up, essentially. So he's really, really nice, even though he hates my guts. And then the girl who's cruising around back here is my big caramel girl from Travis, who's in the chat. Travis of Living Legless produces some really nice coastals. Maybe one day he'll share his secrets. There's no secret. I haven't done it yet. So she will hopefully meet this tiger boy, and maybe they'll finally do something. I've got a big rat delivery coming tomorrow, so as I've talked about before, this is the time of year where you pound food into your animals, really give them those fat stores to make them feel biologically prepared for reproduction. The one thing I'm doing different this year that I didn't do in years past was I'm also hitting the males a little bit harder with food. I've always sort of erred on the side of keeping him lean, but I think with how much he looks around for food, that was probably my flaw. So rather than just talk about her, I figured I'd show her. She's pretty nice. She has a good attitude. She's just very active. Um, this is just a single gene caramel. Really, really bright, really gorgeous. Obviously, the end game would be to make some caramel tigers. And honestly, this girl made me second guess. I even like double checked her sex for a while because last year she was pushing so much. I was like, shoot, did I mix them up? Have I been feeding the male like a female and female like a male? Because she was growing really fast when I had her in a rack, but she was pushing her face a bunch. You can't see it on the video, but she actually pushed her nose so hard that she rubbed it off. She rubbed like it raw, right in between these rostral scales. She essentially created a scab and it healed over and formed a new scale in there. So yeah, if you ever see me and you're ever here and you ever get to see this particular animal, you can see it. She basically invented a new scale on her nose. And then I moved her into this 4-foot cage, thinking, oh, okay, plenty of space, she'll stop pushing. She didn't stop pushing. She ended up rubbing the top of her head raw and scabbing that up, and that's since healed. No weird aberrancies, you can't even tell, but it's just ridiculous. And I think what my flaw was I wasn't feeding her enough. This is a 2015 animal, so she is 4. By no means would I say is she fully mature. She's not done growing, I don't think. She could be done if I didn't push it, but I don't think she's quite done. But she's about 6.5 feet, 4 years old or so. So Travis, hats off to you. This is probably one of the nicest single gene caramels I've seen to date. And I am slightly biased because it is my animal, but I mean, I see a lot of caramels that are black or really heavily tipped out in those areas, and this girl has just always been very creamy and light. You know, what else can I say? She's a sweetheart. She's an awesome snake. So, fingers crossed, I'm feeding them enough and taking care of them appropriately so they want to breed this year. And hopefully I'll get lucky and make some tiger caramels. The thing with that is that will also be a long-term project because those who have had success making caramel tigers have shown that the two genes sort of pull each other apart, and so you either get nice stripes with bad caramel color or great caramel color with very little striping. So first things first, we'll make the first ones and see how they go. I've already seen some of Todd's second and third generation animals that are on fire. They're amazing. So yeah, and I was talking to Robert about some coastal stuff, and he said he's available should I need to pick his brain, so hopefully I'll get it figured out with some extra support this year. But she's got the size, she's got the age, she's got the maturity. She's gonna get fed a ton more. I've been feeding her a lot extra these last few weeks, and I'm gonna keep slamming food to some of these animals over the probably over the rest of the month, and then coming into October is when I'll probably taper down and finish up end of October, beginning of November. We'll see how the weather goes though, because these animals do respond to what the weather's doing outside of the snake room. You know, I can cycle them as best I want, but they're going to pay attention to what's going on outside. They've got a window here. They feel the barometric pressure. They get the change in light, regardless of what I'm doing with my artificial lights. They're aware of all that stuff. So I think part of my issue years past is that I've been trying with animals that are like still too young. And I have moved a couple times, and females tend to not be the roaming ones. Males will roam to find females. Females tend to establish themselves in a, for lack of a better word, a specific area and find safety, security, food, and all that good stuff and hunker down. And if you move them, you've essentially moved them out of their comfort zone, and they've got to reestablish themselves. So this year will be the second year in this place. Hopefully some animals that have come in the last 2 years or just hit maturity are finally comfortable and adjusted here. So we'll see. Um, so, you know, you can only do so many things right, but it's ultimately up to the snakes. I've also, if any of you guys are tuned into my social media stuff, I shared a Dot from Designer Exotics. They were kind enough to loan her to me a year and a half ago, and she's settling in nicely. She absolutely hates me, but that's okay. She doesn't have to like me as long as she's well cared for and comfortable. She's one animal that I will not take out because I will get lit up. It'll be a disaster. It'll all happen out of frame, so you won't even get to see it, and it'll just be a mess, and I'll be knocking stuff over and cursing and all that stuff. But she's staring at me full of contempt right now. But she's real thick. She's been eating like a horse, and she's a super zebra head exanthic, and she's a pretty unique one. She's very charcoaly and has a few random paradox like black scales on her. So she's got a date with an exantic zebra this year. So gonna give it my best shot, of course. But as I said, I'm still, you know, we're always learning. We're always figuring it out. So, but I think I've got the Papuans figured out pretty well and jungles figured out pretty well. So this year will be some morph stuff that's crossed, coastal caramel tiger stuff. Gonna make some more Papuans that I can actually release because I've been a jerk in hoarding them all. But oh yeah, Citrus Tiger Girl's in shed. She's been slamming food. We'll see if she wants to do work with that striped super caramel albino or possible super caramel. In case you didn't notice, I have, I think, 4 stripes. But yeah, I mean, I think this year could be a good carpet python year. Gonna try the Crebos out. Keep iron blanks with Amazon tree boas, who knows? And then Brazilian rainbows. Gonna make some more of those this year. So it's interesting having all these different species in one room because they come from different parts of the world and cycle a little bit. Yeah, Travis, you need Papuans. You could breed those in your sleep, and I think you'd love their colors. I think everyone should have Papuans. Personally, that's just me. Travis, I'm hopefully gonna have Crebos. Nothing set in stone. Female's 4 now. Male is, I say 6. So okay. Robert in the chat is saying, when my girl goes into shed, right before she sheds, put the boy in and let them get some good pheromones. So yeah, so to give you guys some background on my attempts last year between the tiger guy here and her, I saw plenty of cuddling, comfortable behavior, sharing the hot spot, avoiding one another. I even caught a couple locks, and they seem compatible. They're not upset with one another, but nothing happened from it. She swelled like she was going to ovulate, and that was the last of any encouraging behavior I saw from her. Obviously, you can only tell so much from somebody sending you photos, and a few people were, in the same boat I was, thinking she was going to go, and she didn't. So, but she's only 3, so there's some of that involved. She wasn't, as well fed and huge as she is now, even though I don't think she's done growing. But she's always been a lean snake. She digests food very fast. She doesn't bulk up. So to me, that means she's still growing. I need to feed her more and just wait for her to be ready. So the male is actually a year older. He's a 2014. So he's been done growing. He's more and ready to go. It's just keeping him fed so he's focused on females instead of still looking for food and making sure she's ready to rock. So we'll see. We will see. It's pretty silly and embarrassing at the same time that I can't breed coastals, but I can breed jungles and Papuans because, I mean, talk to anybody who's bred them all, they sort of run them the same. Maybe some variation in water bowl size for ambient humidity, but otherwise, they're considered like some of the easier to breed ones. I wouldn't say anything's necessarily easy, but you did. So yeah, these last couple weeks there hasn't been a lot going on. Obviously, hatching's done for the season, so there's nothing really new and crazy going on. 2 of the 9 children's pythons are off to the races and running and eating. The other 7, I started assist feeding mouse tails yesterday, so facing the inevitable. They weren't convinced by the Reptilinks gecko scent, so keep that in the tool shed and see what I can do with that later on. But either way, still rocking and rolling. And then let's see, today is the 13th. Oh yeah, happy Friday the 13th. So today's the 13th, so that would put the Madagascar giant hognose eggs at 50 days in the cooker. They still look good, I guess. Starting to get a little bit dimpled and deflated. I candled them a week and a half ago, got embryos in there, still looking good, so maybe I will still get lucky with Madagascar giant hognose. They're still cohabbing up top. I'm still committing the ultimate reptile sin, cohabbing snakes. Sue me. They do better that way. They're less stressed out by me. They're more calm. They're not trying to kill me and hood up and go full cobra on me. So, yeah, see. So, yeah, I don't know. Kind of a lackluster stream today. I don't really have much. Kind of getting to the point where, like, I don't know how much longer this stream's gonna go. It's sort of plateaued as well. Or maybe that's just my perspective. I don't know. But Sacramento Reptile Show is coming up in 2 weeks. That's going to be a big one. It's going to be the first time they're doing it at Cal Expo. Previously, they've done it in the convention center downtown, which is kind of a nightmare. Parking, too many people, it's just crowded. Great venue, big show, but Cal Expo should be easier for parking, bigger, better for vendors. But for whatever reason, it's like the most expensive show I've ever heard of for vendors. It's like 300 something bucks for a table. Somebody tell me why? I don't know. I don't know why it's so expensive. It's not a Pomona. It's not the Reptile Super Show. They don't charge that much. I'll tell you that. But maybe it's because it's in Sacramento. I don't know. It seems a little ridiculous. They're also doing like pre-sale tickets so you can get in half an hour early. Sure, there's an extra charge for that. Seems to me they are making a ton of profit and not giving it back to the vendors or anybody else. But what do I know? I don't know. Anybody is friends with whoever's coordinating or promoting that show, and you get offended by this and you saying he's complaining about you, whatever. I don't have a booth there. I'm not giving them my money because I don't need it. I'll go just to hang out and see friends, but otherwise, I don't understand why it's so expensive. It's a great show. Don't get me wrong. I'll be there on Saturday, but the price of a booth has literally been a huge hindrance for people I know. So, that for what it's worth. When am I coming to the Tinley show? Shoot. Dude, I'd love to make it out to Tinley. I don't think it's going to happen this year. For me, that's, a travel and a big hurdle over there. But I really need to get over there. One of these days, man. One of these days. Maybe. Well, because isn't it the October Tinley shows the good one to go to? So I'll have to plan for that next year. It'll be fun. Make it a whole like 4-day weekend or something out of it. Go see Carpet Row and sort of the OG Morelia heads out there and really get in where I fit in. California is so weird, man. California doesn't have a lot of Morelia people. I mean, they're out here, don't get me wrong, but not like the East Coast. Terry asks, will I be there with Triple B? If you're referring to the SAC show, sure, Brian will try and rope me in for some camera work, but I'm just planning on visiting. I have to work on Sunday, so can't do the whole weekend, but probably just be there hanging out. I actually haven't even talked to Brian about that. I should double check and see if he's coming up. But yeah, it'll be a good time. It's just going to be the first time at Cal Expo, so we'll see. But Josh, keep poking the Tinley button at me, man. I need to get out there. I really do. It was a great time going out to Philly in June and meeting all these people that, you know, we talk about it all the time. The Morelia world is really tight-knit, and we're all a good community. And when you meet these people, it's like, man, I feel like I've known you forever, you know? So going out to Philly was awesome, getting to see all these people that I've talked to, like Josh and Eric and Owen, and seeing Ian again, and Scott Borden and all these guys out there. It was, you know, it was as comfortable as could be. I felt right at home. So I'd like to make it a thing to go out there more often, see all you folks over there, including Tinley, more Carpet Fest, all of the above, as much as I can swing. That's what I want to do. So that'll be the idea. If I get lucky producing some more caramel stuff and getting good carpet production, maybe that'll fund the next trip. So wish me luck. Otherwise, I gotta get cleaned up. I gotta get ready for the shop. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see what the next week brings. I'm gonna be busy for the next couple weeks, like seriously busy, like no days off busy. I really don't really take days off anyway, but yeah. Workaholic at your service. Anyway, thanks for tuning in again, everyone. Send me your questions if you want to talk about anything in particular next week. Otherwise, we'll just ramble on. So, alrighty, y'all. Have a good Friday. And talk to you next week. Cheers.